My name's Kerry Suter. I'm an abstract painter. I paint predominantly abstract landscapes in acrylic and mixed media. I use collage and layering lots of paint in my work. I begin in an intuitive manner and add layers and lots of texture and drips to get a really rich surface on the painting. So my process is mainly intuitive. I'm inspired by the Scottish coastlines and places I've been in the past on holiday as a child. And it's the memories of those places really that I want to sort of recreate in a painting. So it's not necessarily representational to the landscape, it's just a feeling that I'm trying to create in the painting. And my background is in textiles, so I'm really interested in texture and colour, and that's the main drive. I want the paintings to grab the person from a distance and then have lots of interest on close inspection. So I'm starting some new work here. This is my first of a series of big paintings. By the end of the year, I'm hoping to have a new body of work before Christmas, hopefully. Open Studios this year will be on the weekend of the 1st, 2nd and 3rd of September. I will be here with 4 other artists who work in the building. We have a ceramicist, another 2 painters and a sculptor. And so we'll have all our studio doors open and the studios will be full of paintings, hopefully finished paintings. It's a really good opportunity to speak to members of the public who, you get some people who are really interested in art and some people who are just, stumbling across Open Studios, not really knowing what it's about. Yeah, it's just a really good social event and I'm looking forward to it.
Hello, I'm Jenny Brown. I'm an artist member of Open Studios Ayrshire. I've been exhibiting for about 8 years with Open Studios Ayrshire, and I do a contemporary style of seascapes which are in oils with a lot of loose brushwork. I'm so passionate about the Ayrshire coastline, what we can see, that view of Arran, which is so beautiful, but also the beaches that are up and down the west coast. I think the scenery that we have on the west coast and the islands is second to none. So primarily my scenes are west coast beaches. My story is that I was a teacher in education and I got chronic fatigue syndrome in 2010, and later in that year I started to paint. And paint was my escape from the condition that I was experiencing at the time, which was really limiting. And paint has become a passion since then. So grandchildren and painting are what I do. The Harbour Arts Centre is it's the hub of North Ayrshire, where they try and nurture all of the arts, from musical right through to theatre and visual arts. So when people come down between the 1st and the 3rd of September, they're going to get a real experience of people's actual studios. So we have 5 artists exhibiting out here, a jeweller and 4 painters, who for various reasons can't exhibit out of their own studios. But if they join us if they come and see us in the Harbour Arts Centre, we'll try and give them that real experience of walking into an artist's actual studio with some mess, some work in progress. from North Ayrshire right down to Girvan. There's going to be many venues are going to be open just for that weekend, so people are exhibiting out of their sheds, garages, a back room in their house, or bespoke studios, art studios, or some people will be in external venues. So it's going to be a real exciting experience for the visitor.
My name is Louise McBride and I'm an artist from here in Ayr. I work mostly in pastels, soft pastel, supported by pastel pencil, but I also dabble in graphite and pen and ink and oil pastel and a bit of charcoal. And it's landscapes and seascapes mostly that I work on. So my creative process begins not in the studio, it begins usually out a walk. Sometimes I'll go out intentionally to find reference photos, sometimes not, I just stumble across it, but I just use my iPhone, capture as many photographs as I can, basically things I would like to see on my wall or things I would like to paint, the challenge of recreating, take the photographs and then bring them back to the studio and look for the natural compositions, what works best, and then basically go from there. So yeah, I like to have a mixture of things that I've created solely for myself from scratch and things that people have approached me with, which tend to be a bit more challenging. So Open Studios Ayrshire, I got involved with them, this is my 3rd year. It's a great thing because it's a balance between meeting customers, collectors, just people that appreciate art. Sometimes those are people that want to buy art and own it. Sometimes it's just people that are interested in creating their own art, or they've got children who enjoy art. So it's such a great way to just meet people who are interested in it and chat to you about it. And then on the other side there's the basically people that become your colleagues, like other artists that you get to chat to, because being an artist, it can be quite a lonely thing to do, and a lot of artists do just work solely on their own, so it's lovely to have a group that you can communicate with and talk to and share ideas and learn from. For the Open Studios weekend event, I am normally based here in my studio, and it tends to be a mixture of a cross between a gallery and a workshop experience. So I will be set up on one of my easels working on something, so I'll have a pastel painting on the go that I'll start from scratch at the beginning of the weekend, and hopefully, if things go well, I'll get it finished. So people can come in and chat to me, talk to me about my space and about what I do, and also just watch a bit of a demonstration on the work being created. And then there'll also be the gallery experience where available work will be there on offer, so there'll be framed original art, fine art prints, just various different things.
I'm Lisa Brown. I'm an artist that lives in Irvine, and I moved here about 4 years ago with the intention of setting up a studio and getting myself joined into Open Studios Ayrshire. The type of art that I do is normally painting. At the minute I'm working with acrylic paint and I do some drawing, but I have done oil painting, working with abstract. I do figurative, portrait and landscapes, and I also work with sculpture and environmental art. So I've done some filming and I've done some photography, and I don't restrict myself, so it's just whatever I feel fits in with the context. I've been working with figurative and I've been thinking about the idea of grouping the figures together. So figurative for me is like looking at the body, looking at the shape of the body and being quite simplistic about the outline. Not really looking at portrait as such, not looking at details in the face, but more about the way the figure takes up the space within the 2D. This time I've sort of left the female-male aspect of it out. I've not really looked at gender. There are one or two that I've looked at Mother Nature and I've looked at the idea of Earth and I've used the female form for that, but the rest of them are very, very non-gender. It's just the figure. Open Studios Ayrshire has been a really good start for me. It was like an inspiration kind of thing to get joined up. So when they were looking for new members, I was desperate to get into it. And the good thing about it was that we got right in and got into a group show in the McLaurin Gallery first. And then we've done another show just recently in Largs. So all of the kind of community aspect of it and being with other artists in the community and round about Ayrshire has been really good for me. And the Open Studios event in September, it's the 1st to the 3rd, it's I think the first weekend, the Friday right through to the Sunday. So I think for people to come round and go to all the studios within Ayrshire, have a look, speak to artists and find out all about what the artists are doing, maybe buy some work, maybe get interested in what they're doing and support them in the future. And for me here, I'll be working from this studio and I'll be offering people a demonstration. On the Sunday, we'll be looking at some printing and a little bit of painting and drawing demo.
Hello there, my name's Rebecca Loughran-Muir, one of the artists with Open Studio Ayrshire. Generally I work with palette knives and my art is quite textured, thick, mostly acrylic paint, sometimes oils on canvas. I like contemporary style, I like bright bold colours and occasionally I take some prints of my work, and so this is an example of one of the prints that I've made. So this painting is one that I actually painted while I was living in a caravan. Lived in a caravan for 3.5 years while we were doing a house build, and it was a pretty tough time, to be truthful, several winters of harsh weather. So this was a bit of a let go through that part of my life, and this is called The Storm Approaching. And it's actually of Girvan. You might recognise it, it's Ailsa Craig. But it's a sea view, pretty tempest, stormy, and just like how I was feeling at the time. I have a couple of jobs. One of my jobs I work as a high dependency nurse, and that is quite stressful, and so the art is the balance that I find in life, where I can de-stress, just paint whatever I like, throw on the paint, mess around with it and just enjoy myself, and it's a good way of just letting go. So I'm from Ayrshire and I come here often with my dog for a walk, and I pop in, look at the artists that are displayed here, and I'm a local and just like to support all the local businesses, so the Harbour Arts Centre is one of those businesses. There's some really great artists within Open Studio, and we are good as a collective group. Everybody has their own unique style, and yeah, it's a good crowd to be among.
Hi, I'm Julie Telford McLaren. I'm an artist based in Ayr in Ayrshire, next to the beach. Only recently getting back into my art practice, been at raising a family for the last 14 years. So loving being able to experiment with materials and see where my explorations take me. If you asked me, what do I paint? I couldn't tell you. Too many things to mention. It depends on what's caught my eye in the news maybe the night before, or how I feel that day. As I work, I listen to music, and I feel that there's a very strong connection between how I work and the energy that I get from listening to the music that I listen to. I would say my style, if you could call it that, is one that's just very true and authentic to the medium that I use. So if I'm using paint, I try not to force my hand too much. I like the materials to behave the way that they would naturally do, and I find that quite exciting because every time you put paint on paper, you don't know what's going to happen. It could go wrong at any second, or it could be wildly exciting. So yeah, that's kind of what interests me about working with paint, which is what I am primarily doing at the moment. We've got our, obviously in September, our open weekend coming up, so I'm making work towards that. But in terms of work that I've just completed, there's some work in the Paisley Art Institute exhibition at Roselle. I've got a piece of work in the Dick Institute at the moment, the open art exhibition as well. Well, I moved back to Ayr after living in London for a long time, and sort of finding a group of people who are trying to do something really positive for the arts in the area was just fantastic. It gives you a platform, it lets your work be seen. I'm going to be showing down in Girvan actually for the Open Arts weekend in a community art space down there. So I like the idea of art reaching further as well into like more remote areas, including people that might not otherwise have access to it. There's lots of good reasons to be involved. Not least everyone's really friendly, and it's nice just not to be shouting into the bus all the time.
Hi, I'm Vanessa Lawrence. I'm a sculptor, but also work a lot in two-dimensional form from my sculptures. So my process, I start with my sculptures, and throughout the process of making them, I find myself playing around a lot with light. As soon as the sun's out, I'm outside playing with light and shadows. I make the sculptures first, and then the drawings come after. So I'm playing a lot with how the day's moving in different times of day, and I'll go out and take images, and we'll take hundreds and hundreds of them, and then use some of those to go on and then form drawings from. So this was from the one sculpture, but again, playing in different lights, I create the different form. I mean, I love making the work, but it's almost the images I get from the shadows after that sort of excite me even more. So with the human figure, working with those, I love the kind of stories that can start to happen between the figures if I'm making a big group of them. It's the sort of conversations that can happen between sculptures that really excite me, and the stories that you can create between them. Last year I had 20 life-size wire women to make for a project in Perth called Raise the Roof. So it was bringing the stories of women from Perth and Kinross, so to bring their stories to light. So this is women from present day, but also women from the past. even down to sort of the last woman that was accused of witchcraft. That was an incredible project to work on, 'cause for a start there were so many of them, but that's where I loved sort of, you know, you had one and then you had two and then there was three of them, and as I'd place them outside it was this sort of, you know, story again, communication between them. I'm coming back to Open Studios. I did it for a few years in a row, and then for the last couple of years I've been busy with projects, so I just took a step back for a couple of years, and this is me back to it again, which I'm excited about. It's just, I love that, you know, there's so many artists in Ayrshire and there is so much going on, and it's just great that Open Studios can sort of bring that acknowledgement to a lot of people and get people seen and people out and about and visiting studios, and because there is so much going on here.
Alright folks, how are we getting on? My name is Jack Brown and you're here for a very good episode of the Audio Studio Lab Collab. I am joined by the wonderful people from OSA, which is known as
Open Studios Ayrshire.
Open Studios Ayrshire. I'm joined by Ewan, Julie and Louise. How are we doing, guys?
Good.
Yes,
thanks,
good,
Jack.
thank you.
Good, glad to be here.
Very
yes,
much.
Of course, new experience.
So, for someone that doesn't know about OSA, explain it a bit. What is it about? What is it? How did you get involved and whatnot?
So basically, it's a collective of artists. It's a group who basically come together, and the main purpose of it is to host an open doors weekend, which now is usually in September, and it runs over 3 days, and it just gives people an opportunity to come and visit us, usually where we work, in our place of work, and also just to view your work, and there's a chance to purchase that as well, just make contacts and chat to customers. And that's the kind of main purpose of it, and throughout the year there's various other exhibitions and different opportunities for us, and it also allows us, as well as meeting customers and buyers hopefully for our art, it gives us a chance to meet other like-minded people and get inspiration and just support from other people within Ayrshire.
And it just kind of raises the profile of all the creative people that there are in the area, because there's lots of us.
Yeah, I think there is a lot,
But having a group that you can all gather under, it just is a bigger platform that you could hope to achieve on your own. So
Yeah, definitely.
Would you say that it's actually the group and social aspect is kind of what enticed you three to get involved, or how did your story? What is your story with Open Studio? Like, how did you get into it? Like,
you go first, Louise, because
well,
you are the oldest member.
the oldest member.
Not oldest.
I'm joking.
Historically.
Yeah, so basically I came across one of our other members, Vanessa Lawrence, who's an artist. She's from Ayrshire as well, and just met her by chance, and she was a member. She told me a bit about it, and I got to know her work, and I was just kind of starting out on my own as an artist with my own little business, and just put it on my radar. And I don't know, it was a real kind of tie between getting a platform and meeting customers and actually be able to sell work and meeting other artists and just being part of something that you're, like you were saying, Julie, it just makes it something bigger than you as an individual, just gives you so much more opportunity and makes it easier for people to see you. And that was my two driving forces.
Because I think a lot of the time you just work alone in your studio, and it's kind of, you're not in a void, but unless you make that network and those connections, you do feel like
it can be quite a narrow, like, tunnel vision when you're especially when you're doing your work. It's like it's just you and whatever you're working on. It's like, it can be very like one-dimensional in a way. It's just,
can be. I have only just joined, like 3 weeks membership or something, so it's brand new to me, although as an artist, but I have attended the weekend in previous years, and it was just really interesting, sort of travelling around the area, popping into different artist studios and seeing the work that they make and how they display it. And it, for me, I've lived away from here for a long time down in London, and there's a different vibrancy to the arts down there. And in Brighton, you know, there's just such a culture for kids and everybody. And then when I moved back to Ayr, it just suddenly felt like, you know, your limbs had been cauterised. There was no art anymore. So to find a group with similar aims was just brilliant. So that's why I've joined, because it's really encouraging to see everybody trying to put, because it's hard, you know.
No.
You can't just pick up a gallery like that. You can't just, so, but for it as a collective to come together and support one another and to participate in this weekend is just really...
No, definitely. What about yourself, Ewan? How did you get involved?
I joined Open Studios 6 months ago, around about 6 months ago.
Yeah.
I first heard about them because they had an exhibition at the Harbour Arts Centre.
I wasn't part of that one, but yeah, I remember that, yeah.
Yeah, I kept on holding off joining, but like the last day of joining I applied and I heard back and yeah, I'm in now.
You glad to be involved?
Oh yeah.
No, it definitely does seem like, it's a good community that you have got together.
It is, and there is some, I mean obviously we're not really representing this just now, but there is members that have been there from the beginning more or less, and it has been running for over a decade. We can't remember exactly how long now, but there are other members that have been there for years and years. So this will be my 3rd year as a member. But yeah, it's a good community, and some, you know, you can have as much involvement as you want. You know, some people are very involved and very sociable, and others not so much. It just depends what you want to get from it. Because for some people the weekend itself is the focus, and that's what they work towards, and that's what they really want most out of it, just to kind of come under that banner for the September weekend. But others, it's more about just everything, just a yearly membership to like a group that you can be sociable with and just support. And there's a lot of inspiration as well, you know, from other artists.
I was going to say, so this is more of a personal question about art rather than the actual Open Studios. But how would you say that art is going? What direction do you think it's going? Would you say it's not being represented as much as what it has been? Do you think Open Studios is giving people that chance to? Is it giving that a wider representation? Because I know for a lot of people, we were talking a bit about social media beforehand. We were saying how unless you get that opportunity to use social media, you're kind of limited in a sense of what you can achieve. Would you say this Open Studios gives you that chance to show your work? Would you say it's like giving people the representation and the talent, the show of their talent? Because I'm sure there's loads of really, really talented people in Ayrshire that are just not getting the chance.
I think it's nice to do some things in real life.
Yeah, no, I totally agree.
Yeah.
I'm the exact same.
I mean, you know, the social media side does have its uses, but people who are interested in physical art, and part of that is experiencing it in person.
That's kind of the thing with art though, is art is an experience. Art isn't just something that you just look at. You know what I mean? You need to like actually get in, like it's something that you will have a connection with, a time with. So actually, I think doing it in person is a much better option for me personally. I can see why it works so well, but do you think it does give people that chance to?
Oh, it definitely does. Yeah.
It's just another platform, isn't it? And what you're saying about, you know, being able to view it in person, people working, and also just the finished product. For a lot of people, art's an investment, like, you know, for collectors. And a lot of people say, oh, people don't buy original art without seeing it in person, which sometimes isn't true. But yeah, the majority of the time, if you're going to be living with something, it's going to become an important aspect of your home, then you want to see it in person.
Yeah, I was going to say.
And even to speak to the artist and get an idea of who they are can be part of it. But yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's just because I've kind of immersed myself in art more the last few years, but I do think there is more time being spent talking about it, and I think in Ayr, generally speaking, it's kind of, I don't know, it's been supported a bit more. There seems to be a bit more venues cropping up, and it's, and as I say, I don't know if that's just because I'm more aware of it, but any kind of opportunity for artists to be supported and to take part in something, I think, is good.
Definitely, because it can be a bit intimidating, buying a piece of art. I went to Frieze Art Fair maybe 15 years ago, and it was a huge venue, thousands and thousands of people, and there might have been art there that I would have wanted to talk to the galleries about, but you just felt so intimidated by it all.
Yeah, I can imagine.
And it was David Shrigley had some work there, and Jeremy Deller had some work there. I thought, if I could just get a wee screen print or something small. But I just didn't feel like I could even talk to the gallerist.
Yeah.
It was just too stressful.
Yeah.
So I think if you can bring it down a notch and make it accessible.
I think it has that accessibility.
Uh-huh.
I think that is the golden aspect of what OSA are doing. It's that accessibility for everyone. So how would someone get involved? Say someone's watching is like, yeah, this is something I'm up for. So it's actually, as well as this, what kind of art, what kind of membership is it open to? So like, what kind of, if someone is watching and they think they're not sure if they could or couldn't get involved, could you give a wee explanation on?
Well, this year there's 3 options for membership this year, and this is the first time this has happened. Previously it's always just been full membership or lay membership, but they've introduced a new lay membership plus. So lay membership is generally when you're a member, you're still part of the groups, like, the kind of Facebook groups, and you still get access to joining in the conversations and things and making decisions, but you couldn't take part in the Open Studios weekend and you couldn't exhibit. But with this new plus membership, you don't have to take part in the September weekend, so you don't have to commit to opening your doors to the public, but you can take part in some of the other exhibitions, like online exhibitions or market style ones like that. So it's a kind of more of an intermediate level, so that's good. But anyone who wants to get involved, it's through the website. You can contact for membership then. I think it's about to, where are we now?
Is it open just a window of
yes,
year?
I think, have we got till May?
I think so.
I think it's May. Again, I've not remembered the date, but if you go on the website, you apply on there, and it's a fairly straightforward form, and you can upload some work for examples, and it gets sent over to the membership team for review, and it is a good thing. It's definitely a good thing to be part of. I feel it's worth it, just for so many different reasons, and just to kind of go back to what we're saying about accessibility, for the open weekend, especially for people that are exhibiting it in their studios and their workspaces, you've also got that aspect of like kids coming to see, like some schools let their students know and they can come and see. So from an educational point of view, it's good for that as well. It's not just for collectors, like art collectors, and I think that's where it's not as intimidating, because you're not every person that walks in the door is expected to buy a piece of art. Obviously that's a fantastic bonus, but not everybody is, and a lot of people are there just to chat, and we as artists know that, and we still appreciate that, because that's why we're there to meet other people.
So that's and just so nice. show everybody how we work.
Touching on that, we're talking about September. What is happening in September? You said it was the big weekend,
Yeah, so that is when it used to be more kind of springtime. It used to be April, I think, but the last few years it's been September. And I think it'll be the 3 days this year. So basically, artists decide where they're going to exhibit or where they're going to work from, and some people it's their home if they work from home, if they've got like a kind of home studio or whatever. Some people it's like an external studio. Some people just decide to do it from like another gallery or a museum, a kind of joint space, and it's basically just opening your doors and letting people come in and chat to you, have a look at your work that's on display, and if you're able to work while you're there, great. People can actually see you in action. A lot of people do set demonstrations and things, and they can just come and chat to you and tour around. So it's not just about visiting one place. If you want, you can visit everyone that's taken part that weekend, so you can make a day or a weekend of it, and compare everything and just see the variety of what's out there in Ayrshire.
Yeah, no, definitely. So it's like, touching on what we spoke about a wee bit earlier, what kind of art is it open for? Like, it's not just painting, it's...
No, we've got members who do glasswork, printmaking, painting, mixed media. You do pastel work, don't you?
Yeah, and pastels, yeah. There's jewellery. There was textile artists at one point. So it's any creative, really, person. It doesn't need to just be paint,
I was going to say, because I feel like a lot of the time you hear like stuff about artists and you just think palette, paintbrush, canvas kind of thing, but it is that kind of, and you said mixed media, and obviously that could be like, does that include like digital design and stuff
I
like
do
that.
a couple bits of design.
You do a bit of
yeah.
digital design? Yeah, so I feel like that, I think that's dead interesting. Obviously it is much more common digital design and whatnot, but it is definitely is much further than just paintbrush. and
2D work.
Yeah, there's so many, and a lot of the time as well, an artist, like, it takes an artist a long time to kind of find their niche, and a lot of people are evolving all the time, most artists I would say. So yeah, you can learn from each other and be, you know, get inspiration from each other. So you might start off as like a classic artist, you might be a painter or whatever, but you meet someone else that's trying out something different, and then you can maybe like gravitate towards that or trying things
I was
out.
going to say,
so it's
and
good.
Open Studio does give you that chance to, like you were saying about meeting all these new people and getting inspiration
Yeah.
from them, but it's really seeing other people's work makes you,
Mm-hmm.
do you think it makes you work a little bit harder, would you say? It makes you want to try a bit?
It's part of. It's definitely part of being an artist. Is like being
Yeah.
open to other practice and
Yeah.
you know, visit galleries, visit museums, visit studios, look at stuff online by all means too. But I mean, it's a real learning process the whole time, and I get kind of inspired between one piece of work and another. The last thing I did is maybe going to look nothing like the next that I'm going to do. It just depends what you've seen that day or thought about, or you know, something on the news that's got your attention. So
No,
it's-
that's fine.
It's everywhere.
Well, that's brought us to the end of the podcast. How you found it, folks? You enjoyed it?
Yeah,
Yes, always
happy
good to talk about what we do.
No, 100%. It's been a pleasure to have you on. I've been Jack Brown. We've been joined by Ewan, Julie, Louise from Open Studios Ayrshire. If you do want to get involved, please check out their website. Is it at openstudiosayrshire.com?
Yeah, I don't know. Again, I can't think of it right on. But yeah, Open
Probably.
Studios Ayrshire.
Yeah, if you just look up Open Studios Ayrshire, I'm sure that you'll be able to find it if you want to try and get involved. May time, roughly, we're saying, is the
Cut
cut
off.
off.
Yeah.
Cut off if
Again,
you want to
the
get
date will be on the website, but we're on social media. We're on Instagram and Facebook, so all that information that I can't remember
But,
right now,
yeah.
including the website, a link to the website will be on there.
It's totally
all the
understandable.
details.
No, but I appreciate you coming on. It's been a pleasure
Thanks,
to have a
Jack.
weather with you.
Yes, thank you very much.
I've been Jack Brown. You've been watching the Audio Studio Lab collab with Open Studios Ayrshire. Thanks very much for watching, folks, and we'll see you next time.
And cut.